I'm signing documents that will leave him locked out of his precious Porsche collection by sunrise. The irony? Those cars sit in a garage I secretly own, just like everything else he's about to discover isn't actually his. Before we dive into this story of calculated justice, I want to thank each of you for being part of this incredible journey. If you're enjoying these stories of empowerment, consider subscribing. It's completely free and helps us build this amazing community. My hand remains steady as I sign another document, the Mont Blanc pen gliding smoothly across the paper. The cautious leather chair in Rebecca's corner office feels cool against my skin as afternoon sunlight streams through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating downtown Seattle's skyline. After 12 years of marriage, Michael still sees me as nothing more than the pretty face who got lucky marrying a successful real estate mogul. He conveniently forgot, or maybe never bothered to learn, that before I became Mrs. Reynolds, I was the youngest senior partner at Barrett Shaw Investment Group, specializing in property law and asset management. That expertise came in handy over the past 6 months, as I meticulously documented every transaction, every property deed, and every supposed business meeting that wasn't actually about business at all. The stack of papers before me represents hundreds of hours of careful planning, each page another piece of the puzzle Michael never realized I was assembling. Are you certain about the timing, Mrs. Reynolds? Rebecca, my attorney, watches me with a mix of admiration and concern. She adjusts her wire-rimmed glasses, manicured fingers tapping thoughtfully on her mahogany desk. We could wait until I turn my phone toward her, displaying Michael's latest Instagram post from just 2 minutes ago. The caption reads, "Life begins when you find your true purpose." New chapter. Blessed Nuker soulmates. The photo shows him and Jessica at La Maison Dorée, the same restaurant where he proposed to me. He's even wearing the custom Patek Philippe watch I gave him for our 10th anniversary, the one he claimed was lost last month, right around the time Jessica started wearing designer clothes that cost more than her monthly salary as his company's junior marketing director. The timing, I say, signing another document with precision, is absolutely perfect. My phone buzzes with a text from Michael. "Working late tonight, sweetheart. Big development meeting for the downtown project. Don't wait up. Love you. I've saved every single one of these texts from the past 4 months." Each one lines up perfectly with credit card charges at high-end hotels and restaurants, matching the timestamps of Jessica's social media posts flaunting gifts from her secret admirer. The silver bracelet from Tiffany's that appeared on her wrist the same night Michael had a crucial investor dinner. The Hermes bag she carried to work the day after his emergency business trip to Portland. The weekend spa retreat she documented in detail while Michael was supposedly at a real estate conference in Vancouver. What they don't realize is that I've known about everything for months. Every late meeting, every business trip, every suspicious charge. I've documented it all with the same attention to detail that made me successful in corporate law. Each receipt, each reservation, each carefully hidden transaction has been cataloged and cross-referenced. The paper trail they thought was invisible might as well have been written in neon lights. But unlike most betrayed wives, I didn't scream or throw his designer suits onto the lawn. I didn't key his precious Porsche collection or confront him with tearful accusations. Instead, I did what I do best. I followed the paper trail, and I built an ironclad case. While they were playing house and planning their future, I was planning something entirely different. Rebecca hands me another document, this one thicker than the others. "This triggers the audit," she explains, though I'm already familiar with every page. "Once you sign, there's no going back." I think about this morning, how Michael kissed my cheek before leaving for work, how he promised we'd finally take that anniversary trip to Bali next month. I'd already seen the Bali reservations he'd made, not for us, but for him and Jessica, at the same exclusive resort where we spent our honeymoon. "Good," I reply, my signature flowing across the dotted line. My phone lights up with another notification. Jessica posting an Instagram story of champagne glasses and sunset views from La Maison Doré's rooftop garden. I screenshot it, adding it to my meticulously organized evidence folder. The timestamp will match perfectly with the business dinner Michael's corporate card is currently paying for. The next document slides across the polished desk surface. This one will freeze every account Michael thinks is safely hidden from me, including the offshore ones he set up through his company's shell corporation. The same corporation where Jessica mysteriously became a consultant 2 months ago, despite having no relevant experience or qualifications. The forensic accountants are ready to begin first thing Monday morning, Rebecca notes, organizing the signed papers into neat stacks. Given what you've uncovered, they'll have more than enough to prove he's been embezzling from his own company. I finish, pulling up another folder on my phone. Here's every transaction he's tried to hide through that fake consulting firm, every wire transfer, every falsified invoice. All of it. Outside Rebecca's office, Seattle's afternoon traffic creates a steady hum 20 stories below. From this height, the city looks like a perfect model, every piece in its proper place. By Monday morning, Michael's carefully constructed world will look very different. But for now, let him celebrate. Let him toast to new beginnings and soulmates and fresh starts. After all, I've always believed in giving people exactly what they deserve. The next phase begins precisely as I planned. While Rebecca finalizes the paperwork, I transform my private office at Barrett Shaw into a command center. The space where I once helped clients protect their assets now serves as the staging ground for Michael's downfall. Investment portfolios and property deeds cover every surface, each document a piece of ammunition in the war he doesn't know is coming. Jesus Christ, mutters Sophia, my former colleague from law school, now a forensic accountant specializing in high-profile fraud cases. She's sitting cross-legged on my office floor, surrounded by financial statements. Did he really think he could hide a shell company by registering it under his childhood street address? I laugh, but there's no humor in it. The same man who used our anniversary date as his password for his secret email account? Yes, he absolutely did. I pull up another document on my laptop, this one showing a series of wire transfers. Look. At this, every time he meets Jessica, he files it as a business consultation. 5-star restaurants, weekend getaways, even her Cartier bracelet, all logged as professional development expenses. My phone buzzes, a group text from our friends about an upcoming charity gala. Michael responds immediately with another excuse about a client emergency. Jessica, I notice, also declines. They're getting sloppy, confident in their perceived cleverness. It would almost be amusing if it weren't playing so perfectly into my timeline. Have you spoken to Marcus? Sophia asks, referring to our friend who heads the SEC's Regional Enforcement Division. I nod, pulling up an encrypted email chain. He's ready. The moment we file on Monday, he'll randomly select Michael's company for a routine audit. I smile, thinking of the domino effect this will trigger. The same audit that will discover Jessica's consulting company has been receiving payment since before it legally existed. My phone lights up with Michael's face, his daily check-in call. I answer with practiced cheerfulness, watching Sophia roll her eyes as I listen to him lie about his lunch meeting. Through my office window, I can see the reflection of my computer, screen showing his actual location, the boutique hotel downtown where he's been meeting Jessica every Thursday for the past 3 months. Miss you too, honey, I say, my voice dripping with rehearsed affection. Don't forget we have dinner with the Andersons tonight. He pauses, and I can practically hear him texting Jessica to reschedule. Of course, babe. Wouldn't miss it. After hanging up, I turn to Sophia. He'll cancel in about 3 hours. Emergency board meeting. How can you be so sure? I pull up Jessica's Instagram story from this morning, a cryptic post about a special surprise planned for tonight. Because I know their routine better than they do. I've studied their patterns like a scientist observing predictable specimens. Every dinner, every hotel reservation, every supposedly spontaneous gift, all of it documented, time-stamped, and cross-referenced. The rest of the afternoon unfolds like a carefully choreographed dance. I attend my regular client meetings, make appearances at my usual lunch spots, even get my nails done at the salon where Michael's secretary gets hers. Everything normal, everything routine. No one would suspect that in my briefcase, I'm carrying documents that will dismantle a decade of Michael's careful deceptions. Right on schedule at 4:15 p.m., Michael texts, "Baby, I'm so sorry. Anderson dinner might have to rain check. Massive crisis with the Vancouver development." I respond with just the right amount of disappointment and understanding, knowing full well that the Vancouver development project has been on hold for months, another fact he doesn't know I know. "Look what just came in," Sophia says, holding up her phone. Jessica's posted a photo of champagne glasses at sunset, the location tag accidentally visible, the rooftop bar at Hotel Violet, where Michael first kissed me. "Perfect," I say, adding the screenshot to our collection. That receipt will match beautifully with the emergency business dinner he's about to charge to the corporate card. As evening falls, I sit in my meticulously organized office, surrounded by evidence of Michael's double life and my own careful documentation. Every lie, every secret meeting, every hidden transaction, all of it meticulously cataloged and cross-referenced. My phone buzzes with another Instagram notification. Jessica wearing a new Van Cleef & Arpels necklace, captioned with a simple heart emoji. I save it to the folder marked Monday and pour myself a glass of Macallan 25, the same scotch Michael keeps in his office for special clients. Let them have their romantic evening. Let them think they're the clever ones, hiding their great love story from the naive wife. I've spent months building this facade of ignorance, and in 3 days, I'll have the pleasure of watching it shatter along with everything else they thought they could take from me. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Seattle's lights begin to twinkle as dusk settles over the city. In the reflection, I can see my evidence wall, photos, documents, and financial statements connected by red strings like something from a detective movie. But unlike the movies, this isn't about passion or revenge. This is about justice, served with precision and patience. Sunday morning arrives with deceptive tranquility. I watch Michael sleep, his face relaxed in blissful ignorance. His phone buzzes softly on the nightstand. Jessica's morning message, right on schedule. These Sunday morning texts have become as predictable as his lies. While he showers, I begin my final preparations. My laptop hums quietly as I log into accounts he doesn't know exist, accounts I've spent months preparing. Each one is a carefully positioned piece on my chessboard, ready for tomorrow's game. The first transfer goes through silently. $4.7 million moved from our joint investment portfolio to my new secure account. Money I'd earned and saved before we met, which he'd slowly merged into our shared finances, thinking I was too trusting or too naive to keep track. "Just heading to the club for a quick round of golf, sweetheart," Michael calls out, already dressed, in his weekend casual attire, the Ralph Lauren polo shirt I bought him last month. I know he's meeting Jessica at their usual spot, the Madison Hotel's executive suite, the one that conveniently bills itself as a business center on credit. Card statements. "Have fun, honey," I reply, not looking up from my laptop as I initiate another transfer. "Don't forget we have brunch with my parents next weekend." Of course, wouldn't miss it. Another lie. He's already booked flights to Aspen with Jessica for those dates. I have the receipts. Literally. Once he's gone, my real work begins. Sophia arrives first, bringing fresh coffee and her laptop. Marcus dials in virtually from his SEC office, his Sunday dedicated to ensuring tomorrow's random audit goes perfectly. Rebecca joins us with the final set of documents, her usual professional demeanor tinged with excitement. "Everything's in position," Rebecca says, spreading papers across my home office desk. The same desk where Michael signs his corporate documents, completely unaware of what's about to happen to his company. The moment the courts open tomorrow morning, it all goes into motion. I pull up my masterpiece on the large monitor, a flow chart that would make military strategists proud. Every account, every asset, every shell company he thought was hidden. Red lines connecting his business meetings with hotel charges, blue lines tracking money flowing into Jessica's fake consulting firm, green lines marking every lie, documented. With timestamps and evidence. The SEC team is ready, Marcus confirms through the video call. We'll randomly select his firm for audit exactly 1 hour after the divorce papers are filed. The timing is crucial. We need to catch them before they can start destroying evidence. Speaking of evidence, Sophia says, pulling up a new spreadsheet, I've identified 12 more accounts he tried to hide through that Cayman Island setup. Amateur move, really. He used variations of his mother's maiden name for all of them. What about the offshore transfers? I ask, opening another database I've built over months of careful surveillance. All traced and documented, Marcus responds. He really thought running them through Jessica's consulting company would hide them. Classic mistake. He created such a complex web that he didn't notice we were watching every single thread. My phone buzzes, a photo from our couple friends at the country club. They've accidentally run into Michael and Jessica at the club's restaurant, not the golf course where he claimed to be. Perfect. More witnesses for the timeline. More evidence of the affair they think is so well hidden. Look at this, Sophia says, turning her laptop toward me. Jessica's just posted a cryptic Instagram story. A mimosa glass. A hint of the Madison Hotel's distinctive wallpaper in the background, tagged with Sunday Fun Day. The location data she forgot to disable matches exactly with Michael's credit. Card charge from 20 minutes ago. Add it to the file, I say, initialing another document. Every detail helps. Rebecca hands me the final set of papers. These will freeze everything the moment they're filed. Bank accounts, investment portfolios, property transfers, all of it. What about his backup accounts? Sophia asks. The ones he thinks no one knows about? I smile, pulling up another screen. Already handled. Every account he's opened in the last 5 years has my name attached as a silent co-owner. A benefit of being the trophy wife he never bothered to investigate. He forgot I specialized in asset protection before he married me. My phone lights up with Michael's face, his guilty check-in call. Hi, honey, I answer, my voice dripping with practiced sweetness. How's golf? Great, babe. Just finishing up the back nine. The clink of glasses in the background betrays his location. I put him on speaker so everyone can hear, adding another recording to our evidence file. Don't work too hard at that emergency meeting you'll have later, I say, knowing his routine. After hanging up, Sophia raises an eyebrow. Give it an hour, I explain. He always invents an emergency meeting after these golf dates. Right on cue. 50 minutes later. Babe, I'm so sorry. Henderson needs me to review some urgent contracts. Might be a late one. I text back the perfect understanding wife response while Rebecca finalizes tomorrow's timeline. Everything is scheduled down to the minute. Divorce filing at 9 a.m., account freezes at 9:05, SEC audit notification at 10 a.m., and just for poetic justice, it all happens during his big presentation to potential investors. Are you sure you want to wait until tomorrow? Sophia asks, watching me sort through the last of the documents. We could pull the trigger now. I shake my head, thinking of the Instagram posts I've seen them planning for tonight. Some big celebration of their love at the city's most expensive restaurant. Let them have their last hurrah. Let them toast to their future with money that won't be there tomorrow. Let them feel as secure and invincible as they want for one more night. Tomorrow, I say, signing the final preparation document with flourish. They learn what it means to underestimate the wrong woman. Through my office window, I watch Seattle's Sunday traffic flow smoothly below. Everything is in place. Every detail checked and double-checked. Tomorrow, Michael's carefully constructed house of cards won't just fall. It will be systematically dismantled, Piece by piece, lie by lie, dollar by dollar. One last thing, Rebecca says, pulling out a final document. Are you sure about the timing of the SEC notification? It'll completely derail his investor presentation. I think about all the presentations I helped him prepare over the years, all the late nights I spent editing his proposals while he was with Jessica. The timing is perfect, I reply. After all, he always said timing was everything in business. Tomorrow he'll learn just how right he was. Monday morning dawns crisp and clear, a perfect day for endings disguised as beginnings. I wake up early, though I barely slept. The master bedroom feels different somehow, knowing it's the last. Morning I'll spend here pretending to be the unsuspecting wife. Michael's side of the bed is still made, untouched. He never came home last night, though his emergency meeting ended hours ago, according to Jessica's late-night Instagram stories at Hotel Violet. My phone already has 3 notifications. His apologetic text about falling asleep at the office, Jessica's Instagram story of sunrise from a hotel room I paid for, and Rebecca's message confirming she's at the courthouse. Showtime, I whisper to myself, slipping into the power suit I'd laid out last night. Crimson Armani, his favorite. He always said I looked killer in it. Today, that word feels especially appropriate. My phone buzzes again. A group chat message from Michael. Everyone, Jessica and I have an announcement to make. Dinner at Le Petit Jardin tonight, 8 p.m. Time to share some amazing news. I screenshot it for the record as our friends' congratulatory messages pour in. None of them know that Jessica's been wearing my grandmother's ring for weeks now. None of them know that the Le Petit Jardin reservation was made on our joint credit card. The same card that will be declined by the time they order appetizers. All set, Sophia texts. Right on schedule. I watch my security cameras as Michael pulls into our driveway at 7:45 a.m. He's whistling as he enters, carrying fresh coffee and croissants. His guilty conscience breakfast routine. Morning beautiful. He kisses my cheek and I let him, knowing it's the last time he'll ever do so. Got your favorite? You're in a good mood, I observe, accepting the coffee I won't drink. Years of practice keep my hands steady, my smile perfect. Big day at work. He grins, straightening his tie, the Hermes one I bought him for Christmas. Huge investor presentation. Could change everything. Oh, honey, you have no idea, I think, checking my watch. 8:47 a.m. In 13 minutes, Rebecca will file the papers. In 14 minutes, every account Michael has access to will freeze. In 15 minutes, the SEC will receive an anonymous tip about irregular financial activities at his firm. By the time he finishes his coffee, his entire world will be in free fall. Don't want to be late. He grabs his briefcase, the one still stamped with my family's business logo, a detail he never appreciated. Dinner tonight? Big news to share. I smile, remembering the engagement announcement he's already drafted. On his phone. I saw it reflected in our bedroom mirror last night while he was texting Jessica. I wouldn't miss it for the world. The moment he leaves, I open my laptop. Multiple windows appear. Live feeds from his office security cameras. Amazing what being listed as a company co-founder lets you access. His email inbox, shared with me years ago and never unshared. And the courthouse filing system. 5:07 a.m. Michael walks into his office, still whistling. Jessica's there, perched on his desk in a dress that probably cost 3 months of her fake consulting salary. 5:59 a.m. They're kissing, celebrating their moment of triumph. His phone shows him checking their dinner reservation, the one where he plans to announce their engagement to our friends. Rebecca's name appears in the court filing system. The first domino falls. I watch through the security feed as Michael's phone starts buzzing with notifications, his bank apps pushing alerts, his executive assistant rushing in with a panicked look. Jessica's face shifting from joy to confusion as Michael's face drains of color. "What do you mean? Accounts frozen," I hear him shout through the feed. "Check. Again." 5 a.m. The SEC notification hits. 6 a.m. His potential investors start calling to cancel the presentation. Sip my real coffee, not the one he brought, and watch it all unfold. Every scenario I'd planned for plays out exactly as predicted. Michael runs from his office, phone pressed to his ear, probably trying to reach our financial advisor. But Gregory, my old college friend, is conveniently in meetings all day. Jessica follows him, confusion turning to panic as her own account notifications start rolling in. That fake consulting firm they thought was so clever is currently being dissected by forensic accountants who are finding exactly what I wanted them to find. My phone lights up with messages from our friends, all responding to Michael's group dinner invitation. I respond with a simple, "Can't wait," knowing exactly how this evening will end. More notifications flood in. Michael trying to access our safety deposit box, already emptied last week. Attempting to transfer funds from our secret offshore accounts, frozen. Calling his lawyer, who's currently reviewing the mountain of evidence I've compiled. Through it all, I sit in my home office, watching the security feeds like a general observing her battlefield. Every frantic move he makes was predicted, planned for, and countered before he even thought to make it. "Status?" Rebecca texts. "Everything proceeding as planned," I reply, watching Michael pace his office, his perfect world crumbling minute by minute. "He just tried the Cayman accounts," Sophia reports. "All frozen. Diana's team is having a field day with those transfers." Sarah's on her phone too now, probably realizing that her consulting firm is about to bring more attention than she wanted. The look on her face suggests she's finally understanding what being under federal investigation means. My phone buzzes one last time. Michael. "Babe, might have to cancel dinner tonight. Huge crisis at work." I smile, typing my final response as his perfect new beginning implodes. "No problem, honey. I have some paperwork to take care of anyway. Good luck with your presentation." By noon, Michael's perfectly constructed world is showing its first real cracks. I watch through the security feed as he paces his office like a caged animal, phone pressed to his ear, having the same conversation for the 5th time. "What do you mean you can't override it?" he shouts at his private banker. "I own the damn company." "Owned, I think," taking another sip of coffee. Past tense. The SEC investigators arrived 20 minutes ago, right on schedule. Through the security feed, I watch them set up in the main conference room, boxes of documents spread across the polished mahogany table where Michael usually holds court. Jessica sits among them, her designer dress suddenly seeming out of place, as they question her about her consulting qualifications. My phone buzzes. It's Michael. "Honey, something's wrong with all our accounts." His voice is tight, controlled panic seeping through. "Have you tried accessing anything today?" "Oh?" I keep my voice silky curious. "Let me check." I make a show of typing, though I'm really watching him through the camera feed, seeing him run his hands through his hair in frustration. "That's strange. Have you called the bank?" "They're saying—" He pauses, and I can see him on the feed turning to look through his office windows at the SEC team. "They're saying there's some kind of investigation. Something about irregular transfers?" "That sounds serious," I reply, watching Sarah being escorted to a separate conference room. "Should I be worried?" No, it's just a misunderstanding." He's sweating now. "Listen, about dinner tonight. The engagement announcement?" I say, softly. Dead silence on the line. On the security feed, I watch him freeze, his face draining of color. "What did you say?" His voice is barely a whisper. "The engagement announcement at Le Petit Jardin tonight, with my grandmother's ring. The one you told me was stolen?" Each word falls like a gavel strike. the ring that matches the one she's been wearing in her Instagram stories for the past 3 weeks. He slumps into his chair. On another screen, I watch his email light up with notifications. Major clients pulling their accounts, board members calling emergency meetings, Jessica's lawyer requesting an urgent consultation. How? He starts. How long have I known? I finish for him. Long enough to document everything. The fake consulting firm, the offshore accounts, the creative bookkeeping you thought no one would notice. I pause, letting each revelation sink. In long enough to make sure that when this day came, there would be nothing left for you to hide behind. You did this? Realization crashes over his face on the security feed. The SEC investigation? The frozen accounts? I especially enjoyed watching you try to access the Cayman accounts this morning, I add, my voice cool. Though I have to ask, using our wedding date as the password? Really, Michael? His next words come out strangled. I can explain, to me or to the SEC, because right now, they're very interested in how Jessica became CEO of a consulting firm that was billing your company millions before it legally existed. Through the feed, I watched Jessica being handed a stack of documents. Every transaction, every fake invoice, every fictional consulting report traced back to its source. Her perfect makeup doesn't hide her growing panic. You don't understand. Michael attempts, desperation creeping in. This will destroy everything. No, Michael. You destroyed everything the moment you decided our marriage vows were optional. I pause, watching another email pop up on his screen. His lawyer dropping him as a client. I'm just making sure you pay fair market value for that decision. His corporate card declines as he tries to order lunch. His assistant quietly clears her desk, having already accepted a position at a competing firm, arranged weeks ago through my network. One by one, the pillars of his carefully constructed life crumble. The board meeting, he suddenly remembers, horror dawning, has been canceled. I finish for him. You might want to prep for a different kind of presentation. The forensic accounting team has some interesting questions about certain creative financial decisions. Jessica bursts into his office, mascara streaking her cheeks. They're saying I could face charges, she sobs. Michael, what did you do? I watch them through the feed. These two people who thought they were so clever, so secret, so safe in their little bubble of betrayal. The SEC team is boxing up computers. His executive team is calling an emergency board meeting, one he's specifically not invited to attend. One more thing, I add, my voice eerily calm. You might want to check the deed to your Porsche collection. Actually, check all the car deeds, and the house, and the vacation properties. I pause, savoring the moment. It's amazing what people don't read before signing, isn't it? The last thread of his composure snaps. Through the feed, I watch him frantically pulling up documents on his computer, finally seeing my name on everything he thought was his alone. You were right about one thing, I tell him, standing up from my desk. Tonight's dinner at Le Petit Jardin would have changed everything, just not the way you planned. I end the call as Sophia texts me. Phase 3, ready when you are. I text back a single word. Begin. Through the feed, I watch as security enters Michael's office. His company badge no longer works. His parking pass is deactivated. His world, so perfectly built on lies and stolen money, dissolves like a sandcastle at high tide. And I haven't even served him the divorce papers yet. The afternoon sun streams through my office windows as I watch Michael being escorted from the building, carrying a small box of personal items. His Porsche, now my Porsche, is being towed from his executive parking spot. Jessica's Instagram has gone dark. Her last post a hastily deleted story about new beginnings. Rebecca calls with an update. The media's caught wind of the SEC investigation. Wall Street Journal is running the story in tomorrow's edition. I smile, thinking of the carefully crafted press release I had prepared weeks ago. Perfect timing. What about his family's reaction to the trust fund audit? His mother's lawyers are reviewing the evidence now. She pauses, not pleased about the creative way he's been handling their generational wealth. Through my office window, I can see Michael standing on the sidewalk, tie loosened, hair disheveled, staring up at the building that no longer belongs to him. His phone keeps buzzing with notifications, each one another piece of his life crumbling away. Sometimes I think the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with impeccable timing and irrefutable documentation. By 3 p.m., Michael's carefully constructed empire is falling faster than he can count the losses. I've moved my operation to Rebecca's office, where multiple screens show the systematic dismantling of everything he built, or rather, everything we built that he thought was his alone. Another board member just jumped ship, Sophia announces, checking her tablet. That makes 7 out of 9. I watch the live feed from his office building's security cameras. Michael still sits in his chair, tie loosened, staring at his useless computer screen. Jessica left an hour ago, escorted by her own lawyer after breaking down in the SEC interview room. Her last words to Michael were caught perfectly on camera. You promised they would never find out about the money. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing with notifications, each one another piece of his life crumbling. Cayman First National Bank. Unusual. Activity alert Amex card. Account suspended Reuters. Breaking Reynolds development. Under federal investigation. Le Petit Jardin. Reservation canceled. Payment declined. His lawyer just filed to withdraw representation, Rebecca notes, hanging up her phone. Apparently, Michael tried to pay his retainer from one of the frozen accounts. A new email pops up on my screen. The board's official statement. Effective immediately, Michael Reynolds has been suspended from all duties pending investigation into financial irregularities. Look at this, Sophia says, turning her laptop toward me. Jessica's Instagram story shows her hastily packing suitcases into an Uber. The caption reads, "Sometimes what looks like love is just another lie." I allow myself a small smile. How's the media coverage? Going viral, Sophia confirms. Wall Street Journal just picked up the story. They're particularly interested in the fake consulting firm angle. Someone leaked Jessica's complete lack of business credentials. That someone being me, through 3 different anonymous email accounts, timed perfectly to hit when the story would do maximum damage. My phone rings. Michael again, his 4th call in the last hour. This time I answer. Where are you? His voice is ragged. We need to talk about this. About what, Michael? The SEC investigation? The board suspension? Or maybe the engagement ring you bought with company funds? I keep my voice cool, professional. Or should we discuss the offshore accounts first? You don't understand what you've done, he pleads. The investors, the clients, everything I've built? Everything we built, I correct him. Or did you forget who introduced you to half your major clients? Who helped you structure your first big deal? Who taught you about offshore banking in the first place? Through the security feed, I watch him slump further in his chair. I can fix this. Just tell me what you want. What I want? I let out a small laugh. I want you to understand what it feels like to lose everything you thought was yours. I want you to experience what it's like to have your world pulled out from under you while someone you trusted watches and smiles. His computer screen lights up with another email. His country club membership suspended. Then another. His private jet share program terminated. His phone buzzes constantly with clients pulling their accounts, partners distancing themselves, friends suddenly becoming unavailable. The press is outside, he says quietly. They're asking about Jessica's consulting firm. Ah, yes. The firm that somehow billed $3 million in consulting fees before it was legally registered. Interesting business model. A notification pops up on my screen. Jessica's giving an interview to a financial blog, throwing Michael under the bus to save herself. Smart girl? smarter than he thought she was anyway. The house, he starts. My name's on the deed. I remind him. My name's on everything. Remember all those documents you signed last year when we restructured our assets? You really should read the fine print, honey. Through the feed, I watch as security approaches his office again. Sir, the board has requested you vacate the premises. One more thing, I add before hanging up. You might want to check your email. The Four Seasons just confirmed they're happy to extend my stay in the presidential suite. You remember the one? You booked it for your weekend with Jessica? Amazing how willing they were to transfer the reservation when I showed them proof. I paid for it. I end the call as security begins boxing up his personal items. His corporate phone goes dark. Service terminated. His company car's GPS shows it being towed from the executive parking spot he'll never use again. Rebecca hands me a fresh stack of documents. Phase 4? I nod, signing each page with flourish. Every signature strips away another piece of the life he thought was his alone. Has Jessica's interview gone live yet? Just posted, Linda confirms. She's claiming she was manipulated into the fake consulting scheme. Says she has emails to prove it. Of course she does. I sent them to her this morning. My phone lights up. With another notification. Michael trying to check into the Four Seasons himself, probably hoping to drown his sorrows in the bar. His card declines. All his cards decline. Through the office camera, I watch him finally stand up, gathering what's left of his dignity along with the sad box of personal items security allowed him to keep. His empire of cards, built on lies and betrayal, hasn't just fallen. It's been systematically dismantled brick by brick, lie by lie. Should we tell him about tomorrow? Sophia asks quietly. I shake my head, watching him walk past the press cameras, shoulders slumped, former king of his domain now reduced to taking an Uber home. Let him sleep on this first. Tomorrow's revelations deserve a fresh audience. After all, we haven't even started on his family's trust fund yet. As the sun sets over Seattle, I review the day's events with the same attention to detail that made all this possible. Michael's world hasn't just ended. It's been methodically, systematically, and legally dismantled. Every account frozen, every asset seized, every lie exposed. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just about taking everything from someone. It's about making them watch as their carefully constructed facade crumbles, piece by piece, knowing they did it to themselves. One last thing, Rebecca says, sliding a final document across her desk. Your name change paperwork. Do you want to go back to your maiden name? I consider this for a moment, looking at the empire I now control. No, I decide. Let him see my name, his name, on everything he lost. Let him read about every success, every triumph, every achievement he could have shared if he hadn't been so blind. The Seattle lights flicker to life as darkness falls. From Rebecca's office, the city looks like a constellation of possibilities. Michael saw me as a trophy to be displayed and discarded. He never understood that I was always the hunter, never the prize. 1 month later, the penthouse view of Seattle stretches out before me, the city lights twinkling like the diamonds I never returned. The Wall Street Journal sits on my desk, today's headline already framed for my office wall. Reynolds development rebounds under new leadership, stock prices soar. My phone buzzes with a news alert. Michael Reynolds pleads guilty in financial fraud case. I take a sip of champagne. The expensive kind, the same brand he used to impress Jessica with, and savor both the taste and the moment. The last of the paperwork is filed, Rebecca announces, entering my office with a final stack of documents. As of 4:32 p.m. today, you're officially divorced. I sign the papers with the Mont Blanc pen Michael gave me for our last anniversary. Another bit of poetic justice, using his gifts to sign away his future. Have you seen this? Sophia asks, showing me her tablet. Jessica's giving another interview, this time from her parents' home in New Jersey. Her plea deal required full cooperation, which she gave with impressive enthusiasm. Mrs. Reynolds provided crucial evidence, the article reads, leading to additional charges in the expanding financial fraud investigation. I smile, remembering how eagerly Jessica handed over everything once she realized I'd given her the perfect exit strategy. A few strategic emails, some carefully planted evidence, and suddenly she was the victimized whistleblower instead of the willing accomplice. His mother called again, Rebecca mentions, settling into one of my office chairs. The family wants to thank you for protecting their trust fund. Apparently, you saved them from losing 3 generations of wealth. Ironic, I muse, considering. Michael always said I didn't understand old money values. My assistant enters with more news. The company's stock has jumped another 15 points since I announced the restructuring plan. Turns out removing fraudulent leadership is good for business. Who knew? They're calling you the Phoenix of Wall Street, Sophia notes, reading from another article. Rising from the ashes of corporate scandal to lead one of the most remarkable turnarounds in financial history. I walk to the window, looking out at the empire I helped build and now fully own. In the reflection, I see not the trophy wife Michael thought he married, but the woman I always was. Brilliant, calculating, unstoppable. Have you heard from him? Rebecca asks quietly. I nod toward a letter on my desk. Michael's final attempt at... What? Reconciliation? Manipulation? It doesn't matter anymore. Dear Catherine, it begins. I understand now what I lost. Too late, Michael. Too late by exactly 12 years, 4 months, and 17 days. The media wants an interview, Sophia mentions. Forbes specifically. They're doing a piece on women in finance. Tell them yes, I decide. It's time to tell my own story. My phone buzzes one last time. A text from Michael's sister. Thank you for saving our family legacy. He never deserved you. I think back to that first Instagram post, the one that started it all. Michael so proud of his new relationship status, thinking he was writing the beginning of his new life. He never realized he was actually writing the end of his old one. The SEC investigation is expanding, Rebecca notes. They're looking into his previous ventures now. Let them, I say. I've given them everything they need. Every document, every transaction, every lie carefully preserved and annotated. Sophia raises her glass. To justice served cold. I shake my head, raising my own glass. To underestimating the wrong woman. The sun sets over Seattle. I open my laptop to review tomorrow's board meeting agenda. The company's doing well, better than ever, actually. Turns out removing fraudulent leadership and installing someone who actually understands finance does wonders for the bottom line. The last rays of sunlight catch my wedding ring, the only thing I kept from my marriage. Not out of sentiment, but as a reminder that sometimes the most valuable things in life are the lessons we learn from those who try to destroy us. One last thing, Rebecca says, pulling out a final document. Your name change paperwork is ready. Do you want to go back to your maiden name? I consider this for a moment, looking at the empire I now control. No, I decide. Let him see my name, his name, on everything he lost. Let him read about every success, every triumph, every achievement he could have shared if he hadn't been so blind. The New York lights flicker to life as darkness falls. From my penthouse office, the city looks like a constellation of possibilities. Michael saw me as a trophy to be displayed and discarded. He never understood that I was always the hunter, never the prize. What's next? Sophia asks, gathering her things. I smile, turning from the window to face my future. Everything, I reply. Everything is next. Because the thing about rising from the ashes, you emerge stronger, wiser, and ready to soar. Michael thought he was writing our ending, but he only wrote his own. My story is just beginning, and this time, I'm holding the pen. A week later, my phone buzzes with another news alert. Reynolds case expands. Federal investigation uncovers. Broader financial conspiracy. I add it to my collection of headlines, each one a testament to the thorough nature of my revenge. The company's stock has doubled since I took control. Our clients, far from fleeing the scandal, have rallied around the new leadership. It turns out, transparency and actual business acumen are attractive to investors. Who would have thought? Jessica's tell-all book deal was announced yesterday. I had my PR team send her flowers. After all, her story helps cement Michael's downfall in the public consciousness. Her publisher promises shocking revelations, though I doubt anything could shock me anymore. I have the receipts for all of it, literally and figuratively. The SEC has expanded their investigation into Michael's other business associates. Like dominoes, they're falling one by one, each revelation leading to another. The careful web of evidence I wove is unraveling their entire network. Michael's last attempt to contact me was returned unopened. Whatever explanation or justification he wanted to offer doesn't matter anymore. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt, they're meant to be burned, with the ashes used to fertilize new growth. Tomorrow, I have my first major interview since taking control of the company. The journalist wants to know about my sudden rise to power. If only she knew how long this sudden rise was in the planning. But that's the thing about revenge served cold. It's not about the temperature. It's about the patience, the precision, and the perfect timing. Michael taught me that, though not in the way he intended. And as I stand in my office, watching Seattle spread out before me like a kingdom I've claimed, I can't help but smile. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning. It's winning so completely that your opponent never even saw the game begin. This is my empire now, built on the foundations he thought were his, strengthened by the lessons he never meant to teach, and ruled by the woman he should never have underestimated. The end? No. This is just the beginning. 6 months later, I sit in my expanded corner office, now occupying the entire top floor of what used to be Michael's building. The Seattle skyline stretches before me, somehow looking different from up here. Clearer, brighter, more mine than ever before. The Wall Street Journal's latest headline catches my eye. From scandal to success, Reynolds' enterprise value triples under new leadership. My phone buzzes with an alert from my executive assistant. Your 60 Minutes interview is confirmed for next week. They're particularly interested in the company's revolutionary new approach to corporate transparency. Ironic, really. The same detailed documentation that brought Michael down has become our company's greatest asset. Every transaction traceable, every decision accountable. We've become the gold standard for corporate governance, and the market has responded enthusiastically. The latest numbers are in, Sophia announces, striding into my office with her tablet. She's now our chief financial officer, her forensic accounting skills proving invaluable in our expansion. Q3 profits are up 200% year over year. The board is ecstatic. And Michael? I ask, though I already know the answer. My intelligence network has only grown stronger since taking control. Still serving his sentence, she confirms. Though I heard something interesting from his cellmate's lawyer. Apparently he's writing a memoir. Confessions of a Corporate Fraud. I allow myself a small smile. How fitting. I hope he remembers to credit his ghostwriter. Jessica's book has been on the bestseller list for 12 weeks now. My phone lights up with another notification. A message from Michael's mother. The family trust has flourished under my management, growing by 40% since I took control. They've asked me to become permanent trustee, a position Michael once thought was his birthright. The Forbes profile just went live, Rebecca says, entering with her laptop. She's now our chief legal officer, her expertise crucial in our company's transformation. The headline reads, Catherine Reynolds, the woman, who turned corporate revenge into an empire. The article is comprehensive, detailing how I transformed a scandal-ridden company into a corporate powerhouse. What it doesn't mention are the quiet nights spent planning, the meticulous attention to detail, the perfect patience required to execute everything flawlessly. Have you seen this? Sophia asks, pulling up a news article on her tablet. Jessica's latest interview, this time from her new position as a corporate fraud consultant. She's made quite a career for herself, teaching companies how to spot the very schemes she once helped perpetrate. I may have had a hand in arranging that opportunity. After all, who better to catch a thief? The SEC wants you to speak at their annual conference, Rebecca mentions. They're calling our case the new standard in corporate fraud detection. I stand and walk to the window, surveying the city below. Seattle has changed in the past 6 months, or maybe I'm just seeing it differently. Every building, every street, every deal happening below represents an opportunity, one I'm now perfectly positioned to seize. The merger paperwork came through, Sophia adds. Thompson Industries didn't stand a chance once we revealed their own financial irregularities. Another company Michael tried to partner with, another set of secrets I'd carefully documented over the years. My phone buzzes with a text from Marcus at the SEC. You were right about the offshore accounts. 3 more executives indicted this morning. The domino effect continues, each falling piece revealing new connections, new frauds, new opportunities for justice. The Charity Foundation is ready to launch, Rebecca reports. Full scholarship, program for women in finance and law. The press is already calling it revolutionary. I smile at that. Using Michael's hidden millions to fund education for women, he would have underestimated. There's a poetry to it that even he might appreciate if he weren't so busy with his prison memoir. The international expansion is proceeding ahead of schedule, Sophia continues. London office opens next month, Tokyo in Q1, Singapore by summer. Each new office represents another piece of the empire I'm building on the ashes of Michael's ambitions. He wanted to be a real estate mogul. I'm creating a global financial powerhouse. My assistant enters with another update. The Wall Street Reform Committee wants you to testify next month. They're using our transparency protocols as a model for new regulations. The irony doesn't escape me. The same meticulous documentation that exposed Michael's fraud is now shaping the future of corporate accountability. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning, it's changing the game entirely. Jessica's consulting firm is doing well, Rebecca mentions. Her insights into corporate fraud have helped prevent 3 major scandals this quarter alone. Another piece of poetic justice. The woman Michael thought he could use and discard has become a respected authority in her field. Her past mistakes transformed into valuable wisdom. I may have helped guide her transformation, but she's exceeded even my expectations. The profile. Piece in The Atlantic just dropped, Sophia says, pulling it up on her tablet. The Queen of Corporate Justice, How Catherine Reynolds Transformed a Scandal into a Revolution. I scan the article, noting how they praise our company's innovative approach to business ethics and corporate governance. What they don't see is the careful groundwork laid over years, the patient accumulation of evidence, the strategic positioning that made all of this possible. My phone buzzes with another message. Michael's sister thanking me for the latest trust fund report. The family fortune has grown beyond their wildest expectations under my management. He never understood what real power looks like, she writes. But you showed us all. The sun sets over Seattle, casting long shadows across my empire. From this height, I can see the buildings that once belonged to Michael's competitors. Companies now under my influence, their secrets known, their futures tied to my vision. Final item, Rebecca says, placing a document on my desk. The board wants to rename the company. They feel Reynolds carries too much baggage. I pick up the paper, considering the suggestion. No, I decide. Let it stand. Let everyone remember how Michael Reynolds lost everything to the woman he underestimated. Let them remember who really built this empire. Because that's the thing about true power. It's not about destruction. It's about transformation. Michael thought he was writing a story about conquest and betrayal. Instead, he became a cautionary tale in my story of resurrection and triumph. What's our next move? Sophia asks, poised to take notes. I turn from the window, my reflection in the glass overlaying the city like a crown. Everything, I reply. We're just getting started. Because the best revenge isn't just success, it's success so complete, so transformative, that it rewrites the very rules of the game. Michael thought he was king of a small empire. I'm building a dynasty, and this is just the beginning of my reign. 1 year to the day after Michael's downfall, I stand at the podium of the National Business Women's Leadership Conference, surveying the packed auditorium. 3,000 faces look back at me, each one representing a woman who refused to be underestimated. The irony isn't lost on me. I'm speaking from the same stage where Michael once dismissed female executives as too emotional for corporate leadership. The latest numbers are unprecedented, Sophia whispers as I prepare to begin my keynote address. Our Women in Finance Scholarship Program has already placed 50 graduates in top-tier firms. 10 of them specifically requested to work on corporate fraud prevention. I smile, thinking of the justice in that. Michael's hidden millions, now funding a new generation of women who will make sure men like him never succeed in their schemes again. The presentation screen behind me displays our foundation's latest achievement. Breaking glass ceilings, 1 year, 1,000 lives changed. Ms. Reynolds, a young reporter, catches my attention just before I begin. Any comment on the rumors about Michael Reynolds' prison memoir being canceled by the publisher? I believe they found some inconsistencies in his narrative, I reply smoothly, knowing full well that my legal team's detailed fact-checking had shredded his attempt at reputation rehabilitation. The truth, documented in my meticulous files, proved far more compelling than his self-serving fiction. My phone buzzes with a notification. Jessica's consulting firm has just been acquired by one of the Big Four accounting firms. Another piece of carefully orchestrated justice. Her insights into corporate fraud, born from our scandal, will now help shape global financial oversight. The press release quotes her. Sometimes our greatest mistakes lead to our most important missions. The SEC implementation is complete, Rebecca reports, joining me at the podium. Every major financial institution is now adopting our transparency protocols. They're calling it the Reynolds standard in regulatory circles. The same documentation system that exposed Michael's fraud has become the gold standard for corporate governance. Every transaction traceable, every decision accountable. His downfall became the foundation for a revolution in financial transparency. Your SAO. Mother-in-law's foundation grant just cleared, Sophia adds. $20 million for women's educational initiatives. Another delicious irony, Michael's family money, now funding the very opportunities he worked so hard to deny others. As I begin my speech, I notice a familiar face in the crowd. Michael's former executive assistant, now heading our corporate compliance department. She catches my eye and nods, remembering the day she helped me access those crucial files. Her promotion wasn't just reward for loyalty. It was recognition of talent Michael had ignored. The true measure of power, I tell the audience, isn't in what you can take from others. It's in what you can build from the ruins of their underestimation. The crowd hangs on every word, not knowing that each carefully chosen phrase is backed by a year of triumph that began with betrayal. My story has become a case study in business schools, but they're only seeing the surface. The real masterpiece was in the details, the patient accumulation of evidence, the strategic positioning, the perfect timing. My phone lights up with another alert. Our London office has just closed the acquisition of Michael's former competitor, the one he spent years trying to outmaneuver. Their CEO personally requested our takeover after seeing our corporate governance model. Sometimes the best revenge isn't in destruction, but in building something so superior that your enemies beg to be part of it. The Prison Reform Initiative, is ready to launch, Rebecca whispers during a pause in my speech. Another project born from Michael's downfall, using our foundation's resources to help rehabilitate white-collar crime victims. Jessica's contributing her expertise, turning her experience into a force for positive change. The audience applauds as I detail our latest initiative, a global mentorship program connecting experienced female executives with promising young professionals. What they don't know is that every participant receives a copy of our corporate fraud detection protocols. Knowledge is power, and I'm arming a new generation with the tools to protect themselves. Thompson Industries board just approved the merger. Sophia updates me during the Q&A session. Another company that once dismissed me as Michael's trophy wife, now eagerly joining my empire. Their CEO's expression when he realized who really controlled the negotiations was worth every patient year of planning. After the speech, I meet with a group of scholarship recipients. Their eyes shine with ambition and determination, reminding me of myself before Michael's betrayal awakened my true potential. Each one receives a personal mentorship offer. I'm building an army of brilliant women who will never be underestimated. Again. The documentary crew is ready for your interview, my assistant reminds me. They want to focus on the company's transformation from scandal to global standard bearer. I check my reflection in the green room mirror, adjusting the Cartier watch I bought myself to replace the one Michael gave me. Let's give them something worth documenting. The interviewer asks about Michael, about revenge, about the spectacular fall of his empire. I smile, knowing that's not the real story. The real triumph isn't in what I took from him. It's in what I built from the ruins of his betrayal. Your next appointment is here, Rebecca announces. The Federal Reserve wants to consult on implementing the Reynolds standard across the banking sector. I stand at my office window, watching Seattle's financial district sparkle in the afternoon sun. Every building, every institution now operates. Under standards born from my revenge. Michael's betrayal didn't just fall my empire, it revolutionized corporate America. Final item, Sophia says, placing a document on my desk. The Forbes Most Powerful Women issue. They want you for the cover. I pick up the magazine mock-up, studying the proposed headline. Catherine Reynolds. How One Woman's Revenge Revolutionized Corporate America. Change it, I instruct. This isn't about revenge anymore. It's about revolution. Because that's the true power of revenge served cold. It's not in the destruction of your enemies, but in the empire you build from their underestimation. Michael thought he was writing a story of conquest. Instead, he became a footnote in my legend. My phone buzzes with one final notification. Michael's sister forwarding an article about our foundation's latest initiative. You didn't just save our family legacy, she writes. You gave it purpose. Smile, thinking of all the women who will never know the full story of how this empire was built. They don't need to. They'll benefit from its power, learn from its example, and carry its legacy forward. Because the best revenge isn't just success. It's creating a legacy so powerful that your enemies become irrelevant to your story. Michael thought he was king of a small empire. I'm building a dynasty that will outlast us all. And this is just the first chapter. 18 months after signing those initial papers, I stand in the grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton, surrounded by the fruits of my calculated patience. Tonight marks the launch of the Reynolds Institute for Corporate Governance, and every major financial player in the country is here. The irony of using Michael's family name to reshape the very system he corrupted isn't lost on me. The numbers are staggering, Sophia whispers, showing me the latest statistics on her tablet. 200 companies have adopted our transparency protocols. Corporate fraud cases are down 40% in sectors using the Reynolds standard. My phone buzzes with a news alert. Michael Reynolds denied early release. Judge cites lack of remorse. I smile, remembering the detailed letter I sent to the parole board, documenting every instance of his continued attempts to manipulate the system from behind bars. Jessica's book is being adapted into a limited series, Rebecca announces, joining us at the podium. They want your input on the story. Of course they do. The transformation of a corporate trophy wife into a financial powerhouse makes for compelling television. What they don't know is that I've already approved the script, every scene backed by documented evidence from my files. The event tonight isn't just a celebration, it's a declaration of a new era. The Institute will train the next generation of corporate watchdogs, armed with the very tools and techniques I used to expose Michael's fraud. His betrayal didn't just end his empire, it sparked a revolution in corporate accountability. Your mother-in-law sends her regards, Sophia adds, checking her messages. The Family Trust's latest philanthropic initiative is making headlines. Another masterful touch, using the Reynolds family money to fund whistleblower protection programs. Michael's own legacy now protects others from men like him. I survey the room, noting faces I recognize from Michael's old photos. Board members, who once dismissed me as arm candy, now hang on my every word. CEOs who laughed at Michael's jokes about women in business now implement my governance standards. Even his old golf club buddies are here, their companies eagerly adopting the Reynolds standard to protect their own interests. The SEC chairman is ready for your meeting tomorrow, Rebecca reminds me. They want to make our compliance protocols mandatory for all publicly traded companies. The system I built to expose one man's fraud will now safeguard the entire financial sector. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning, it's changing the rules of the game entirely. My phone lights up with another notification. Thompson Industries stock has doubled since implementing our governance model. The same company Michael tried to acquire through fraud now thrives under transparent leadership. Their CEO personally credited our system for their turnaround. Look who just arrived. Sophia nods toward the entrance. Jessica walks in, confident in her new role as America's leading corporate fraud consultant. Her transformation from Michael's mistress to respected authority on financial ethics is perhaps my finest work. She catches my eye and raises her glass. Slightly, a gesture of acknowledgement between two women who rose from the ashes of male underestimation. The international expansion is exceeding projections, Rebecca reports, reviewing the latest figures. London, Tokyo, Singapore, they're all reporting record compliance rates. What started as personal revenge has become a global standard for corporate governance. Michael's world was so small, limited to his petty schemes and secret accounts. Mine spans continents. The evening's keynote speech approaches, and I review my notes one last time. But these aren't just talking points. They're the blueprint for a new era in corporate accountability. Each initiative, each program, each regulation stems from the meticulous documentation of one man's betrayal. Breaking news, Sophia shows me her tablet. 3 more executives indicted using the Reynolds protocol. Former associates of Michael's, their own fraudulent schemes exposed by the very system their friend's downfall inspired. The domino effect continues, each falling piece revealing new connections, new opportunities for justice. As I take the stage, I notice a familiar face in the crowd, Michael's former CFO, now teaching corporate ethics at Wharton. Another piece of poetic justice. The man who helped hide Michael's fraud now trains students to prevent it, using case studies drawn from my evidence files. The true measure of power, I begin my speech, isn't in what you can take from others. It's in what you can build from the ruins of their underestimation. Tonight, we're not just launching an institute, we're establishing a legacy. The crowd applauds, not knowing that each word is backed by volumes of evidence, years of planning, and a vision that transformed personal revenge into public revolution. Michael thought he was writing a story about one woman's revenge. Instead, he became a cautionary tale in the history of corporate reform. Final numbers from the foundation, Rebecca passes me a note during the applause. 1,000 women trained in corporate governance, 200 companies transformed, 50 billion in fraud prevented. Numbers that tell the story of revenge, served not just cold, but strategic. After the speech, I meet with the Institute's first class of fellows, brilliant women selected from top business schools worldwide. Each one receives a copy of our complete protocols, each one armed with the knowledge to prevent the next Michael Reynolds from succeeding. The documentary premieres next month, my assistant reminds me. Early reviews are calling it a masterclass in corporate transformation. They don't know the half of it. The real masterpiece was in the details, the patient accumulation of evidence, the strategic positioning, the perfect timing that turned one man's betrayal into a global revolution. Standing at the podium, watching these powerful figures hang. On my every word, I think about that day 18 months ago, signing papers in Rebecca's office. Michael thought he was so clever, hiding his schemes in plain sight. He never realized he was actually providing the blueprint for his own obsolescence. Because that's the thing about true power. It's not about destruction, it's about transformation. Michael thought he was king of a small empire built on lies. I've created a dynasty built on exposing them. This isn't just a story of revenge anymore. It's a legacy of revolution, a testament to the power of patient justice, and a warning to every man who thinks he can underestimate a woman and get away with it. The best revenge, after all, isn't just success. It's success so complete that it renders your enemies irrelevant to your story. Michael thought he was writing our ending. Instead, he merely set the stage for my beginning. And what a beginning it has been. 2 years after Michael's downfall, I stand at the window of my private jet, watching New York's skyline fade into the distance. The Wall Street opening bell just rang with a historic moment. The Reynolds standard is now mandatory for all NYSE-listed companies. What began as documentation of one man's betrayal has revolutionized global financial markets. The implementation statistics are remarkable, Sophia says, reviewing data on her tablet. Corporate fraud attempts down 60% worldwide in companies using our protocols. The EU is adopting them next month, Asia-Pacific following in Q3. My phone buzzes with a notification. Michael's attempt to publish his prison memoirs online has been blocked. Not by me this time, but by Jessica's new corporate integrity consultancy. She's become quite the crusader against financial fraud, turning her past mistakes into a powerful force for change. Speaking of Michael, Rebecca interjects, settling into her seat with a fresh stack of documents. His latest appeal was denied this morning. The judge cited our evidence as irrefutable and comprehensive. They're using his case as a teaching tool at Harvard Business School now. I smile, remembering the meticulous documentation that brought down his empire. Those same techniques are now required learning at top business schools worldwide. My revenge didn't just destroy a corrupt man, it created a new standard for corporate accountability. The Reynolds Institute's latest initiative is making waves, Sophia continues. 500 companies have signed up for our certification program. Even Michael's old competitors are begging to be included. The Institute has grown beyond my wildest expectations. What started as a way to formalize my methods has become the global authority on corporate governance. Every major financial center has a branch now, each one training the next generation of corporate watchdogs. Your interview with The Economist just went live, my assistant announces, forwarding the link. The headline reads, "The Reynolds Revolution: How One Woman's Quest for Justice Transformed Global Finance." I scan the article, noting how they praise the systematic approach to corporate oversight that I developed. What they don't see is the years of careful planning, the patient accumulation of evidence, the strategic positioning that made all of this possible. The UN wants you to head their new financial oversight committee, Rebecca mentions, reviewing her emails. They're particularly interested in applying the Reynolds standard to emerging markets. My phone lights up with another alert. Thomson Industries has just uncovered a major fraud attempt using our protocols. The same company that once dismissed me as Michael's trophy wife now relies on my systems to protect their assets. The irony is delicious. Jessica's latest book is topping the charts, Sophia notes. From accomplice to advocate, a journey. Through corporate reform. She credits you in the acknowledgments. Another piece of poetic justice. The woman Michael tried to use as his escape route now helps others escape corporate fraud. The jet banks toward London, where I'll address the European Parliament about implementing the Reynolds standard across the EU. My testimony is backed by 2 years of data showing unprecedented success in fraud prevention and corporate transparency. The Foundation's impact report is ready for review, Rebecca says, pulling up the document. 10,000 women trained in corporate oversight, $200 billion in fraud prevented, and a global network of Reynolds certified compliance officers. Think back to those first documents I signed in her office, each page carefully calculated to expose Michael's fraud. Now those same principles protect trillions in global assets. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning, it's changing the entire game. Breaking news. Sophia shows me her tablet. 3 major investment banks just announced mandatory Reynolds certification for all executive positions. The same. Banks that once facilitated Michael's schemes now require their leaders to prove they can prevent them. My phone buzzes with a message from Michael's mother. The Family Foundation, now under my guidance, has become a leading force in corporate ethics education. You didn't just save our legacy, she writes. You gave it meaning. The Harvard case study is being published next week, Rebecca adds. They're calling it the Reynolds effect, how personal justice created global change. If only they knew the full story, the nights spent documenting every transaction, the patient waiting for perfect timing, the strategic positioning that turned evidence into revolution. As we approach London, I review the speech I'll give tomorrow. Each point is backed by data, each recommendation supported by proven results. The systems I built to expose one man's betrayal now protect the global financial system from thousands like him. Final item, Sophia says, handing me a document. Fortune's most influential issue. You're not just on the cover, they're naming the decade after you. The Reynolds era, how one woman reshaped global finance. I think about Michael in his prison cell, watching as his name becomes synonymous not with his crimes, but with their prevention. That's the ultimate revenge, turning his legacy of corruption into a worldwide standard for integrity. The sun sets over the Atlantic as we begin our descent into London. From this height, the city's financial district glitters like the empire it is. An empire now operating under rules I created from the ashes of betrayal. Your next appointment is confirmed, my assistant notes. The World Economic Forum wants you to keynote next month. Theme: The Future of Corporate Integrity. I smile, thinking of how far this has come. Michael thought he was clever, hiding his schemes in complex webs of deception. He never realized he was actually providing the blueprint for a global revolution in corporate transparency. Because that's the thing about true power. It's not in what you destroy, but in what you build from the destruction. Michael thought he was writing a story about conquest and betrayal. Instead, he became a footnote in a global transformation. The best revenge, it turns out, isn't just success or even revolution. It's creating a legacy so powerful that your enemies become teaching tools in your triumph. What started as one woman's revenge has become a worldwide standard for corporate integrity. Michael's betrayal didn't just end his empire, it sparked a global revolution in financial accountability, and we're still just beginning. 3 years to the day after I signed those first papers in Rebecca's office, I stand in the oval-shaped auditorium of the World Bank headquarters in Washington, D.C. Before me sit representatives from every major financial institution globally, all gathered for a historic announcement. The Reynolds standard is being adopted as the international benchmark for corporate governance. The final statistics are beyond our projections, Sophia whispers, showing me the latest data. Corporate fraud reduced by 75% in certified institutions. Over $3 trillion in potentially fraudulent transactions prevented. Every major stock exchange now requires Reynolds compliance for listing. My phone lights up with a news alert. Michael Reynolds denied final appeal. Reynolds standard evidence cited as revolutionary by Supreme Court. The very system I created to expose his fraud has now been validated by the highest court in the land. Sometimes justice comes full circle in the most satisfying ways. Jessica's consulting firm just merged with Deloitte, Rebecca announces quietly. They're implementing the Reynolds protocols globally. The woman Michael thought he could use as a pawn has become a queen in her own right, transforming her experience into a force for worldwide change. The World Bank president approaches the podium to introduce me, but my mind drifts to that morning. 3 years ago. I remember watching Michael leave for work, whistling, thinking he was so clever with his hidden accounts and secret meetings. He never realized he was about to become a case study in how not to commit corporate fraud. Your latest initiative is gaining traction, Sophia notes, checking her tablet. 50 countries have signed on to the Reynolds Global Oversight Committee. What began as documentation of one man's betrayal has evolved into an international framework for financial accountability. I scan the audience as I prepare to speak. There's Michael's former board chairman, now teaching Reynolds compliance at Yale. His old CFO heads the SEC's new transparency division. Even his favorite golf buddies have become evangelists for corporate integrity, their companies proudly displaying Reynolds certification. The Institute's expansion is unprecedented, Rebecca reports. 20 global centers, 30,000 certified professionals, and a waiting list for the next training cohort. The methods I developed to track Michael's deception now form the backbone of corporate oversight worldwide. My phone buzzes with a message from Michael's sister. The Family Foundation, under my leadership, has become the world's leading force in corporate ethics education. You didn't just restore our name, she writes. You gave it immortality. Breaking news, Sophia shows me her screen. Goldman Sachs announces all executive positions will require Reynolds certification. The same bank that once helped Michael hide his assets now uses my standards to ensure transparency. The irony would be amusing if it weren't so satisfying. The audience falls silent as I begin my address. Every word is backed by 3 years of data. Every recommendation supported by proven results. The systems I built to expose one man's betrayal now safeguard the global financial system from thousands like him. We've received preliminary numbers from Asia. Rebecca passes me a note. Corporate fraud attempts down 80% since implementing the Reynolds standard. The Chinese government is requesting expedited certification for all state-owned enterprises. Phone screen lights up with another notification, a message from Jessica. Her new book, The Reynolds Revolution, From Corporate Fraud to Global Reform, has just hit the bestseller list. She's become quite the advocate for corporate integrity, turning her past into a powerful tool for change. The Harvard Business Review Special Edition is out, Sophia mentions during a break. They're calling it The Reynolds Era, How One Woman's Revenge Transformed Global Finance. Your methodology is now required reading at every top business school. I think about Michael in his cell, watching on prison television as his name becomes synonymous not with fraud, but with its prevention. That's the ultimate victory, turning his legacy of corruption into a worldwide standard for integrity. The UN Security Council resolution passed, Rebecca adds. The Reynolds standard is now part of international financial law. What started as personal revenge has become encoded in the very framework of global commerce. Looking out over the assembled financial leaders, I see the ripple effects of that first morning in Rebecca's office. Every document I signed, every piece of evidence I gathered, every strategic move I made has led to this moment. Final numbers from the foundation, Sophia reports. 100,000 women trained in corporate oversight. 500 billion in fraud prevented. Global network of Reynolds certified professionals spanning 6 continents. My phone buzzes with an alert. Thompson Industries has just uncovered a major fraud attempt using our protocols. The same company Michael tried to absorb through deception now leads in corporate transparency, their CEO publicly crediting the Reynolds standard for their transformation. The documentary series premieres next week, Rebecca reminds me. Early reviews are calling it the definitive story of how personal justice created global change. If only they knew the full story. The nights spent documenting every transaction, the patient waiting for perfect timing, the strategic positioning that turned evidence into revolution. As I conclude my speech, I think about the true nature of revenge. Michael thought he was writing a story about conquest and betrayal. Instead, he became a footnote in a global transformation. His attempt to underestimate one woman led to a worldwide revolution in corporate accountability. Your next appointment is confirmed, my assistant notes. The G20 wants you to lead their new financial integrity task force. The same world leaders who once dismissed corporate fraud as inevitable now embrace the systems I created to prevent it. Standing at the podium, watching these powerful figures hang on my every word, I remember that morning 3 years ago, signing papers while Michael celebrated his new relationship. He thought he was so clever, hiding his schemes in plain sight. He never realized he was actually providing the blueprint for his own obsolescence. Because that's the thing about true power. It's not about destruction. It's about transformation. Michael thought he was king of a small empire built on lies. I've created a global dynasty built on exposing them. This isn't just a story of revenge anymore. It's a legacy of revolution, a testament to the power of patient justice, and a warning to every person who thinks they can commit fraud and escape consequence. The best revenge, after all, isn't just success or even revolution. It's creating a legacy so powerful that your enemies become case studies in your triumph. Michael thought he was writing our ending. Instead, he merely provided the catalyst for a global beginning. And what a beginning it has been.